Hey guys, Sam here from Chalice and Chains. And I wanted to do a quick video today talking about or addressing the idea of in the Fate RPG, players basically working together to create and then stack aspects or boosts, whatever, same thing, in a way during combat that they can basically one-shot an enemy. This was brought up most recently by Ian Christiansen of Fantastic Dimensions on YouTube. This was in a post in the Absolute Tabletop official group on Facebook. And I know he's run Fate before, he's played Fate before, so I really, I like it when he gets involved in the conversations as well, especially around Fate, because I think he's got something to offer in that. And, you know, he basically asked another member of the community, DeVabrian Jackson, you might know him as DBJ, which is talking about approaches in Fate. But he asked the question, you know, how do you, or what tips do you have to prevent players or to deal with players who basically stack these aspects or these boosts, you know, to either getting a huge bonus or basically one shot your villain or whatever. And, you know, DBJ had a good answer. I'm going to just paraphrase it, but basically, you know, part of it was like, that's just how the system works. You know, that's part of the way it works, and because the game encourages cooperation and cooperative role play. But I think that, and, you know, he goes on to, you know, say somebody else suggested something, you know, about making like each part of this obstacle, you know, or, you know, make a giant and have, you know, his legs be worth, you know, 40 points and his, you know, torso be worth 50 points or something like that. It was crazy. It was a stupid suggestion, which DBJ also thought was not smart. But I wanted to take a stab at at addressing this question, because I think that it's one that comes up a lot, and it's a big criticism that I see of the Fate system. And to me, I've never understood this criticism, but I haven't actually had this happen to me either. So I don't see it as a big issue. So here's my attempt to kind of answer this question of how would you deal with this or how would you prevent it? And the short answer is you don't. You don't prevent it, because that's something that's awesome for the player. That's something, because Fate is all about playing competent characters that are put into challenging situations and seeing how they get over that or how they overcome those, right? Fate is not a game of zero to hero. It's not typically a game of gritty, highly dangerous, deadly, I shouldn't say highly dangerous, but the risk of death is typically lower. At least the expectation of death is typically lower in a Fate game. Not that it can't be very deadly, because it certainly can, but the big thing about Fate is that it puts the narrative at the front, right? Everything is about serving the story. And so that's the answer to aspect stacking, right? And one-shotting the enemy. If the players, through their character actions, have come up with logical boosts or scene aspects or whatever that can be used and invoked in combat by someone other than just them, and multiple situations happen like that, then there's no reason why a player shouldn't be able to then stack those aspects along with whatever aspects he might want to invoke, or she, and, you know, any stunts that could come into play to just, you know, deal a massive amount of shifts of damage to the player or to the NPC, because that's cinematic as hell. Like it should be anyway, right? That's what you end up seeing in a lot of action films when they finally defeat the bad guy, right? But here's the way that can be unsatisfying, right? I mean, if you've set up this big boss fight and then they take him down in the first round before he ever gets to act, for the story, that's not satisfying. So here's how you mitigate that. First of all, a BBEG, you know, big bad evil guy, should never be alone against a party of competent PCs, unless you have set up the story for that to be the case, right? Now, if this is just a boss fight in which you intend for that boss to go down, then fine. Then that's okay. But then allow the players and their ingenuity to rule the day, right? Rule the scene. You can bring other things in, but in cases like that, what do? Well, you bring in terrain features that, at least in the beginning, the NPC can benefit from and is a detriment to the PCs, right? So you put him on high ground, and the PCs have to, figure out how to overcome that, right? Maybe you put an environmental effect like fire between the PCs and the NPC, right? Maybe the NPC can somehow control the fire. I don't know. Right? So there are obstacles that they have to overcome to get to the, the main boss. Okay? Or alternatively, you've set up your game so that they have had already a series of obstacles that they've had to overcome before they even get to the big bad evil guy, right? So they've had to figure out how to infiltrate his compound without immediately being stopped or killed, right? They've had to overcome or avoid his guards and his security systems or her security systems so that they don't alert the boss to the PC's presence, right? Maybe they've had secondary objectives that they also had to accomplish. I don't know. They have to free the captive that the boss had, but they also need to apprehend or kill the boss, right? So they've gone through these series of obstacles and presumably they've overcome them. That is satisfying. That is fun. And therefore, if they do take out your boss, it's still in one shot or whatever. It's still satisfying because that is a fun conclusion to say, look, you've put me through all this crap. I had to overcome all of your stuff, and I did. And now, screw you. I've taken you out, and I'm a badass, right? Or you get them to that scene where they finally meet the boss, and he is or she is prepared for them, right? So what does that mean? That means the boss gets to act first, okay? No, you don't roll initiative. There is no whatever. Excuse me. You control the fiction as the GM. So the PCs bust through the door and they see, I don't know, Cassandra DeVoe sitting behind the desk, the villain that they've been chasing down this whole scene. She's got the nuclear, the codes to the nuclear bomb that they're trying to disable. She's got whatever, like the device that can disable this thing. And you need to get it from her. But she knows you're here. And so the very first thing she does is you come through the door and she gets on her phone and says, bring in so-and-so. And through another door in the back comes in 3 guards with with body armor and machine guns, and a 4th holding a huge, vicious-looking dog. And then a 5th comes in with a pistol to the head of an ally that the PCs have that has been established previously in the fiction. Right? Now what do? Well, you got to deal with that situation. Big bads never go solo against a whole group of NPCs, okay? Now they can, but they usually don't. So if you are going to have them go solo, she gets behind the desk immediately and throws a grenade. Or she, you see her pull on a gas mask, hit a button on her computer, and all of a sudden the lights turn off and noxious gas starts to flood the room, right? So you have to make overcome rolls. You have to do what you can. And meanwhile, she's pulling out, you know, a grenade or pistols or whatever and firing at you because she's got night vision, right? So the idea of this phenomenon where they've stacked aspects, what are you doing to set up that situation that this is a problem? I mean, I guess I would have to, maybe there's examples of actual plays where this is happening, but to me, I see this as being a big deal if you're running it like D&D. If you're running it where players roll initiative, everybody goes in order, the fictional positioning and the, fictional positioning isn't what's ruling the scene and what's determining action, but the dice rolls are determining, like, to me, I don't understand this problem. But I understand a lot of people have run into this. So I want to hear your thoughts. I want to, give me examples of when this happened to you and the setup of how it came to be. Because I'm very curious about this. So, and look, I'm no expert at Fate by any means, but from my understanding of it, it's about, you counter this or you combat this by smart, intelligent, and well-planned encounter design. Simple as that. So anyway, let me know your thoughts. Like the video or dislike it if you dislike it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and happy gaming.